Hey guys, first I just wanted to give a massive thank you to everyone who commented on my last video or otherwise reached out to me. It really meant a lot. You have no idea. I've also gotten a lot of praise from people saying that they were really thankful that I was so open and honest about my depression. So if you guys would like, I'm thinking of making that into a series with my other mental illnesses, so anxiety and post-traumatic stress disorder. If that is something you are interested in, please let me know in the comments or message me. I would really love to hear it. Anyway, in a sort of similar vein, this week I would like to talk about how role-playing games and role-playing in general, so I'm also including LARPing in this, live action role-playing, are good for people with mental illnesses or as sort of coping mechanisms. The amazing Cheyenne at LARP House has made a sort of similar video on how LARPing can be good for people with anxiety and PTSD. I will link that down below and I definitely recommend that you watch it. However, I would like to talk about my personal experiences with both LARPing and Dungeons & Dragons as tools to kind of work through some of my issues. So the thing that's interesting and pretty obvious about role-playing is that you aren't yourself. So you're playing a character, right? And unlike traditional theater, it's all improvised. You are creating the lines, so you're creating the dialogues, you can put your own emotions into it, and you can kind of control the situations based on what kind of game you're playing. Because of that, I would say it's a very useful tool to get out any sort of emotional issues you might be working with. It's also very useful just to sort of up your confidence, really, because if you're playing as someone else, then you can do things that you might not be comfortable doing. Not in a weird way, but let's say you're very quiet and shy, but you've created a character who's very bold and assertive, then you can play as them and maybe from that sort of take those traits into your daily life and become more sort of yourself. A sort of what would my character do situation, you know? Now LARPing, as I said, live action role-playing, takes this to an even greater extreme because unlike in Dungeons & Dragons or other tabletop role-playing games, you're role-playing in live action, so you're not just talking and rolling dice, you're actually sort of using your whole body and you're interacting with people more, that sort of thing. And so that kind of adds a whole nother element to the role-playing experience, as well as how you can use it to work through things. You may have seen a past video of mine, which is linked in the LARP Life playlist, where I talked about doing a playtest of A Glamorous Night. For those of you who didn't see it, it was basically a game that involved no talking or almost no talking and almost entirely body movements to communicate things and touching. So this game focused a lot on the themes of control. So you could basically, mind control people, I suppose, and make them do things. Obviously, they could back out at any time, but in the mechanics of the game, you were controlling them and you could make them do things. And to initiate that, you had to touch them. You also used dance to get all of your feelings across, which again involved a lot of touching. If you are familiar with me in real life, and I will touch on this more in the PTSD video that I may or may not make, you will know that I am very bad with being touched by people that I do not know. So this was a very difficult game for me, and I went into it very worried. There were also a lot of men playing, which is something that's a little more difficult for me, being touched by men specifically. So I was very apprehensive, but the game actually helped me realize that I could do it. So I could allow people to touch me in a safe environment, and it wasn't any sort of like inappropriate touching, nothing like that. It was mostly just hand-to-hand contact or hand-to-shoulder, things like that, but even that for me is a lot. So being in an environment that was completely safe, where you could at any time say, nope, we're stopping, I'm not comfortable with this, I'm changing my boundaries to this, you're only allowed to touch me here, or you're not allowed to touch me at all, was a very nice experience. And it was a way for me to sort of work through why I'm so apprehensive about that and how to make it better. I hope that makes sense. Role-playing is also a great way to get out of your head as a stress reducer. So if you're having a really bad day or week or whatever, and you go to some sort of role-playing session, you can kind of get out of that negative mindset that you might be in where you're upset and get into your character's mindset. And your character hasn't been experiencing any of the problems that you have. They might be experiencing worse problems. For example, one of my D&D characters is trying to get her kidnapped daughter back, but it's not something that's real. so you can play through those emotions with a sense of detachment, and you're also just playing, so you get out of your own head, you get out of your own emotions, and by the time you're done playing, then you're out of that headspace. It's harder to get back into it, so you feel better, or at least I do. This has just been a quick overview of why I think role-playing is great for different mental issues, as well as just a nice pick-me-up. If you'd like me to elaborate on it, please let me know in the comments below. I, as you may or may not have noticed, love talking about LARPing in D&D. It's something I really enjoy. It's something that's becoming a great hobby of mine, and so I would love to keep making videos about it. Anyway, I hope you guys are having a great day, week, month, whatever, and I will see you next Sunday. Bye!